Welcome to this series of interviews in which we focus on the goddess and her importance in these pivotal times. Let's attune to the holy flow and the energies of the goddess. So become aware of your body, your precious, delicious body. From the crown on top of your head, through the head, the neck, shoulders, your arms and hands and all of your fingers, your whole chest, your belly and lower back. Notice the spine from the atlas all the way down to the base chakra, and feel that area between the sitting bones. Notice the sitting bones on the chair. Can you feel that you are being pulled towards the earth? Can you notice the force of gravity? Can you bring your awareness there? Maybe try to follow it. Where does it come from? So can you follow that flow into the earth, the flow of that magnetic pull through the layers of Mother Earth, rooting deeper and deeper and deeper as you dive in deeper, reaching her beautiful crystalline heart in the core. Deeply rooted, you receive her strength, her unconditional love, and her faith, which flows in a holy flow, a current, a stream of sacred energy through your holy body. All of your cells are being nourished, and all spaces between the cells as well. Connected to all that is, you are. And then notice the breath. Maybe you want to start to move your fingers, your toes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So here we are, attuned to Goddess Gaia and to the all and with each other. So welcome, Sieta. Hello.
Beautiful meditation.
You're welcome. So Sieta, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I can. So my name is Sieta, and I live in Amsterdam. It's funny now. I wanted to introduce myself. These things that kind of explain who I am right now don't really make sense. But I live in Amsterdam. I'm 29 years old. I teach yin yoga, meditation, and I create art and also help other people, beings create art as well. So I try to combine these things that I always thought were separated, but they're becoming more and more one. So it's a really beautiful journey to see where that goes, because to me it's also always new, whatever comes
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, we're meeting here in the energy of the goddess rises. You're teaching yin yoga, and we want you to be a part of the course, or Janine asked you to contribute with yin yoga. So, what does yin yoga for you have to do with the goddess?
So for me, I'm an earth element, which means I'm born on the 7th of January, which is very much the earth element. It's winter, so it's very connected to Mother Earth. And this is something that I really find in my yin practice myself, because when I started doing yin yoga, I went through a challenging period in my own life. So I really needed something to ground me. So to get out of my head and really get into my body, to start tuning in what was alive there. And yin yoga for me has been this embodiment practice of really tuning in with how I feel, where I feel it, my connection to Mother Earth. So really strongly feeling like the first chakras, feeling that I'm safe. So very much a feeling of being held and being safe. And this is something I always find in my own connection to the earth, which is, for me, the earth is my divine connection to, yeah, to the goddess, to the mother, to matter. There has been in my life a bit of in my spiritual path, it was very masculine to begin with. It was very focused on something like higher than matter. Um, and now, since like I think 3 to 4 years, I really started realizing and really feeling that it's actually bringing this light within the matter. That's really the embodiment of the spirit, and that's something that I can so much connect to. Like it's sometimes it's so simple that I, even when I connect to my feet or breathe through the soles of my feet, which is a very simple practice, I can immediately feel this energy from earth like flowing up through my body. And sometimes I forget how easy that is. And then when someone reminds me, I'm like, wow, there's like all of this magic that's just there to tap into once you really start feeling it. Yeah, and it's such a feeling of coming home. So yin yoga for me is really bringing all of that energy down in your body, and then really feeling your connection through your own physical body with everything else. So this is really my anchor. And it's such a, I had a teacher and many years back, and she always said, your body is a truth machine. So it'll tell you when something is off and when something is in line with your heart's path. And that's so true, because it has this beautiful way of letting you know where you're going once you start attuning to it. And yin yoga is just a really easy and beautiful tool to really kind of just fall back into that body again, which I think we kind of forgot a little bit in Western society. We're all the way up here. So it's really, yeah, it's really joyous and lovely to come back to the body and to see all the wisdom and intelligence that it has on its own.
I couldn't agree more. Yes, yes, you took the words almost right out of my heart and mouth. So uh, that has been my experience as well with yin yoga, especially that it really adds up mm, to my practices already, and to what you say, the embodiment of the goddess, of and embracing nature. And so that's beautiful, and that's why your your contribution will be in the module which is called Rooted Ascension. So that's perfectly fitting, I feel. What is the specific thing, specific, posture maybe in yin yoga that makes it yin, adding up to embodying, to being here more?
Yeah, I heard you use the word posture, which is within the yoga traditions. Maybe it's unnecessary to share it, but you have the asanas, which is the physical practice, of course. And that's only one part of like the whole part of what the yoga tradition actually teaches. And this reminds me of a moment, I think 2 years ago when I was in India in an ashram. And I tend to go there every year. My spiritual teacher, this beautiful woman from Australia, and we spent like a month there. And we do a lot of meditation. So it's sometimes even like 8 hours a day sitting, and then we do satsang. So we're kind of inquiring into what's happening. And all of a sudden I was sitting and I felt this moment that my body was a chair. That was the first time that I actually felt like, after years and years of doing meditation and all of this practice, I just sat down and I felt, oh, I could just sit like this forever. And I felt so comfortable in my own body. That was really the moment that it kind of clicked, like, we're doing all of this physical practice, we're doing this pranayamas, we're doing all of the yoga traditions to kind of get us back in our center, to really sit like you're at home in your own physical body, being aware of everything that's going around, the external world, your thoughts, your emotions, everything that's there, that's just dancing around you, but you're just here. And yin yoga is something for me that it's a very meditative practice. So it's very silent. I guide with my voice, but normally we close our eyes, so you're not very distracted by what my body looks like, because everyone's body looks different and not everyone does the same posture the same way. But then really going inwards and really going to your presence and invoking your presence through that. So it's very much not necessarily the posture, but it's very the finding your essence, just coming to the center of your heart, and then just letting everything that comes up with all of the resistance, because of course there's also sometimes postures that can be a bit more challenging. So it's really learning how to deal with the resistance, and then using that resistance to see that it comes up from your heart and it dances in front of you, and then it just wants to land back into your heart, so you can rest through that and be in your essence. And using the physical body in yin is just a tool for me to get back to that place. And yeah, it's a very beautiful practice, because it can be so silent, and it can be also very challenging. It can be soft. It can be all of these things. So it's really, you can really attune it to what your body or what your soul needs at that point.
There's something else you told me in another conversation we had. And you also do women's circles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about that and the importance of it?
Yes. I'll start with this. There's this book laying on my table, and I wanted to show it to Janine actually, but I kept forgetting it's this book, Return of the Feminine and the World Soul.
All right. Wow. Whose is it?
Written by a man.
Oh, I know him. Yes. Yeah. I know him. I got other books of him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's very, very beautiful. And someone gave this book to me when, I think a year ago, when I took out my anti-conception. Is that a word? So the first day that I kind of cleared my body of that, someone put this book in my hand, said, oh, you have to read this. And I started reading it, and it was like, every page, it was like, oh my God, this is me. Like, I could connect so much to the energy behind the words that around that time, I also felt a lot of resistance to being with women. So I was reading this book, but then at the same time, I was like, women, and all of these ideas about how women are, and what like the cultural conditions or the conditioning that we have learned what women are, which is also in me because I also grew up in that same culture. So at one point there was this beautiful opening to my own femininity, and then on the other hand I felt but I don't know how to, like, my relationship with other women. So I felt to kind of explore this. And I tend to be very experimental in my work when I create art, but also other stuff. I just tend to kind of do it and then see how it goes. So I felt, okay, maybe there is other women that would like to be in this conversation or be in silence together and kind of see what's happening when we connect. So I started with these women's circles with like 8 women we started. And it was very, it's still, every time that we meet, it's completely different to what we're meeting, because the subject can be very large because we all live in a patriarchy, and there's so many different subtle aspects that you can find in your own body, and like how you relate to each other, like even how you send an email, like all of these small and subtle things. So it's such a large subject to kind of get into. So what we started doing is just being together in silence and then really co-creating the space. So instead of me guiding or facilitating, it's more like a co-creation. So there's more like this horizontal connection that we share with each other. So everyone is very much in the circle as themselves in presence, and they bring in whatever feels good for them. And then we go through meditation. We do some embodiment practices as well, because my practice through the years has been a lot of silently sitting in meditation, which I now realize sometimes it's not what my body is asking for. So sometimes we do more movement, or we do yoga, we even dance, something that I also felt a lot of resistance for, because there was always this idea like, oh no, I don't know what to move, blah, blah. But then when you start letting yourself go there, there's like all of these things that your body wants to do that are kind of like miracles that sometimes I surprise myself, like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And it's such a freeing like child's like joy in that, let yourself allow to move whatever way you want to move.
Yeah.
And through that also meeting all of these ideas and resistance conditionings that we have, that women can have, that are there from your ancestors, that are there in your family line, that are there in your own life. So yeah, these can be so broad. It could be even your relationship with men. It could be work-wise. It could be about money. It could be about your connection to your body. It can be about sexuality. It can be anything, really. So we kind of, move through this practice of being silent together, and then always a sharing circle. So whatever comes up is being shared in the group without really cross-talking or giving feedback to each other, but really allowing all of these feelings to just really be there and be held. So just to be loving with them and to see that they are there, that they had a function somewhere. They used to keep us safe when it wasn't really allowed to be a woman or to practice these embodiment practices. It's in a long time in our culture, it's kind of been suppressed. So all of these things, they had a function to keep us safe, or at least that's how I feel. They had a function. But then now, once we start reconnecting with that, you're kind of in the way. So they bubble up, like my teacher always says, you burp them out. They come up like, and then you burp them out. And then that's the only thing that they want to do. It's like stuck energy that you could hold in your body. And then once you kind of move through, you feel more free. Like you create literally more space in your body. You create more space in your voice. You create more space in your relationships. It's just been a really wonderful journey that's still unfolding. And it's also really magical to see that once I started doing this, there were all of these beautiful women coming in my life, like you two. Like that's something that I never really connected to. But then now I can see, once I started doing that work myself, there's all of these beautiful women coming in, and I can feel so much empowerment. Also, even in the art world, there's so many feministic women coming up and really like embodying that kind of magical, I would say witch-like essence, almost like that magical, transformative I think that's beautiful, even in the world that's not necessarily named spiritual, but I can see so many females coming up and really, being in their essence. And that's so great to see.
Yeah.
Really lovely to see.
Yeah, beautiful.
Mm.
And I love it that you touch upon, let me translate, the prejudice maybe that has been and still might be against and between women. So can you name a few of them that may have been unmasked by now or are being unmasked? So what was your resistance mostly when it came to women's circles and connecting with women deeply?
For me, it was mostly based upon this idea of competition. So really, let me feel into that. Really, this idea that there's only space for one female somewhere in the group, and it's always related to a man. So I should always be available. I should always be the one who's most prettiest, be the one, and not really allowing others to kind of be in their essence, and then also getting some kind of, I don't know what the word is, but some kind of good feeling of that I would be the best in that. But really, it was always in relationship to a man. And it's just amazing to me that this has been there always, and I never really known why. I just always thought that I was better with guys, that I would have just more male friends than female friends throughout my life, and always with this idea in the background, like women are too messy, like too emotional. And then you can already hear that the prejudice on there, like it's so completely and it has been there like all my life, but then you can't see it until you kind of shine your light on it, and then it becomes like in your face, like whoa, and then you can change it. So it's really the practice of becoming aware and then lovingly letting it also go, or letting it be, and then moving through it. So one more thing that comes up for me is the idea of having to ask permission from not other women, but from males, actually. So this is also something that's very connected to my voice. I always wanted to sing when I was small. I always wanted to sing, but I always had a very scratchy voice, like I still have, but I kind of moved through that a bit. And I always had this feeling that one day someone would call me, like literally on the phone, and they would ask me, "Hey, Sieta, so we finally discovered you and we heard you sing, and it's time for you to come in the band, and we'll make like a really big star of you." Blah. This really weird story. And then 2 years ago, I went to India and I bought an harmonium, which is what is it? It's like a piano, but you blow air in it, so you kind of sing mantras over it. And I started singing because I realized that no one has to give me permission before I can actually do something. And I was always waiting for someone to say, "Hey, yeah, it's okay, you can do it." Right? It's always this male look, like having to ask permission. And now I'm singing, like I'm singing in circles. I'm doing it for myself, just because it brings so much joy, and to feel that I could give my own permission to things is, for me, it's really life-changing. Like
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Well, you're at the right place, showing and telling what you did. And thank you for your honesty in this. I love your authenticity. It's I noticed it the first time we talked, and I love that, because it also invites other people to be authentic and to be honest and truthful, and just, we're here showing up, being real. Right? So beautiful.
Yeah, I really love that you share that it's something so, because it's always a bit scary, right, to be very vulnerable and to really share whatever like darkness that comes up, and then really voicing that.
Yeah.
That's also something that I found in these women's circles, but also in my own spiritual friendships or my sangha, or whenever I share these things. Something that for me, it makes life so much more safe, because when you hear someone speaking all of these things that you normally think, ooh, like, ooh, I feel a bit ashamed about this, like, ooh, what is this? Like, you want to look away. Every time that I heard someone else speak these things, I was so touched, because it was such a relief, like, oh, I have that too. And it's so normal. Like, it's just being human.
Yes.
So it's always a bit scary, but I really love that you notice that, because I always feel such a relief when other people do it.
Yeah. And well, if I get the response or the feedback like, oh, thank you for being vulnerable, for me it doesn't even feel vulnerable anymore. It just feels like, well, this is me, and I have my flaws, and I have my talents, and I have my gifts, and and it's the oneness, it's the whole, and that's also what the goddess is for me, like embracing that we are not just a singular thing, we are not linear, it's not about competition, it's not about having to to hide ourselves. It's just, here I am, and this is it, and I'm learning. We're all learning. So, and I feel that when we can embrace that of ourselves, then we can meet other persons at that level as well, from the heart, and really with compassion, and really with oh, I know what you're going through, and it's not easy, but it's worth it. So yeah.
If I may add to that.
Yeah, sure.
Expressing that you sometimes don't know.
Yeah.
It's very masculine to say, oh yeah, I can do that, oh yeah, and then not. It's very beautiful if someone says, okay, I don't know how this works.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Which it it can also, or at least in my experience, it can also be really, really scary to also admit to yourself, like, I don't know, but then to always feel that, or at least that's always what I felt after moving through that. There was this really big, that's not even trust, it's deeper than trust. It's just this feeling of really being held in the not knowing, which is very beautiful.
Wow. And so you work mostly with women, or is it because you come from a male-ish background regarding work? Is it a shift you're currently still in, or have you made a big shift when it comes to that, or is it a balance you're trying to find in your life?
Yes, it's an interesting question, because when I went through my awakening when I was 22, there was this male spiritual guidance coming into my path, and I've been with him for, I think, 3 years or something. And then there was this this movement that I felt, but I somehow my body really responded to more embodiment practices. So then PMA, which is my teacher now that I spent a lot of time with, she's very in the body, and so I kind of shifted from a more male perspective to a bit more of a female perspective. But then that was only kind of the external physical body of these teachers, although they do, like, everyone talks about at the end we all end up at the same space, of course. But their practice is a little bit different. And then I actually noticed, and this is something that has only been kind of moving through me the past year, is that I never really looked at female and male energies in my own body. It was just, I never really saw the difference there, because there was also this idea that you kind of go past that, so that you have the female, the male, but in your essence, you're divine and you're everything. So you're already balanced. But then when I started reading more about the feminine energy and world soul, and I started feeling more feminine energies in my own body, which is something that I never really felt before. which is something that very much connects me to being human, more human, but also divine. So it's somewhere in between. And then now I can see that I now mostly work with women, but my partner has these male groups that he leads, and we're talking about how to kind of incorporate the two, because I can sometimes feel that for my female energy, it's a lot of suppressed male energy, which is down in my belly, which is a lot of anger and frustration, and my voice as well, like really voicing where my boundaries are and things like this. Whereas I can see in the male groups that my partner leads, there's a lot of suppressing of the heart. So it's more these softer energies that they suppress. So my healing has been a lot of seeing where this suppressed male energy in my body is, and then allowing the female part to kind of shine through and to balance the two again. And with most male, and I'm not saying this is not general, it's for everyone has their own path, but I could see that there's also an imbalance with the female energies in male bodies. And so we're kind of thinking about and feeling how it would be if we would kind of combine these groups, because there's also a lot of male attention in these female groups that are very like, oh, I would like to be in one of these groups, which I think is super interesting. And I never really tried that. So how it would be to kind of have male and female, and also people who don't identify as being male or female, of course, because that's such a balance.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's something that I'm playing around with. So maybe something in the future to try, and see how that goes. Because I know from Janine, you told me that there's also males, of course, welcome in this program, right? That you're open to
whatever gender. Yes.
Yeah. How's that? What is your experience with that?
Well, it's good. My experience is that only men enter this course who really have, who are in service truly to the goddess. And many feel they are connected to the rose lineage, so of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. That's actually most men, and some feel a connection with Egypt and Isis, Osiris, Horus, which is all connected. Some feel more connected to Merlin and alchemical ancestry within their DNA or within their soul. But it's and all these, or the Cathars, and all these men, or however they identify, do feel they need to explore their femininity. They need to let her arise within in order to live a more balanced way. So for me, it has nothing to do with this earthly body, but it's all based on what you touched upon just now. It all has to do with returning back to divine union within. And many people talk about, being a divine union as a couple, which is beautiful, but it's for me, this is the most important balance we need to return to. The sacred inner marriage. And but my experience, the experience of the man who joined in the Goddess Awakens, which was another online course, it was beautiful. It was really meeting each other as mutual beings, and it was never an issue. It was never an issue, even when it came to opening up, to showing up vulnerability, to sharing from the heart. It was really a meeting in the heart. And that's what my work is all about anyway, opening the heart, which is a challenge for a lot of women as well. Because Was that your experience as well in that course?
For the men or in
Yeah.
general?
Well,
Yeah.
in general, what
In
you
general,
noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really people meeting heart to heart, and there was the gender wasn't a part of it. It was bigger than that, actually.
Yeah, we were all there for the same course. It was more like a mystery school meeting, a mystery school circle, when we're all here to serve, to learn, to grow, to expand, to be. So
Beautiful.
Yeah. The interesting thing is what you said. So you did show a book, and that's what I love as well. It is of a male author, but it led you to exploring more of your own femininity. So it is, it's possible, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. I really liked what you shared about it's not the physical body, that it's just the vessel that you're in, right? And it's these energies that kind of play, that just want to become one.
Yeah.
There's seagulls in the background.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like I'm living at the beach, but I'm not. No, but it's really, maybe it's also like breaking through these boundaries, like what we traditionally see as male and female, and really letting that go and meeting each other in your essence, and then it's one anyway. So it's very beautiful what you shared, and I feel there's still so much to kind of explore within these, that like sometimes it feels like we're only touching upon like the tip of the iceberg, like everything that's underneath that we can share and that we can connect through, and that just when I speak it, I can feel like all of this energy like going through my body, because it feels like it's like magic.
Yes.
Yes. So fun. It's really such a joy to be able to discover that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah. There was something else that arose just now. I forgot. Oh, no, I do remember. Mm-hmm. You talked about your awakening. Can you elaborate a bit more about that? Because people can find that really interesting as well. What happened?
It was a very interesting time. I remember everything about it, because for me it was quite a challenging period. I was 22. Was it 22? Yeah, 22. And I just walked into the supermarket and I wanted to buy some curry or whatever. And I remember just being there and reaching out to the supermarket shelf to get something. And I felt like this energy from above, like falling into my body. And I felt like I was drowning, because there was so much energy that I really didn't know what was happening to me. And I didn't have a spiritual practice at that time. So I really didn't have the framework to understand what was going on. So what happened instead is that my head tried to come up with reasons, like what's going on, what is this, like so I went into panic. That's what happens when you panic. My head starts to run around, because I felt so much in my body that I really couldn't place what was going on. So that took like, I think 3 months or something, with this energy coming and going and coming and going. And when I was in that energy, I felt like there was no time. I felt like everything was exactly now. It was really like I awakened from having a physical body. I could look at my hands like, oh, I have hands. What is this? Like being this awe, but also very terrified at the same time, because I didn't know what was happening. So in normal society, you could easily say that I was having some mental breakdown. That was the diagnosis, because of course I went to a psychologist and I told, like, this is what, I don't know what's happening. Like there's all of these insights coming, but my head couldn't see what was going on or couldn't understand. So the psychologist also didn't know what was going on, of course, because she also didn't really have this reference of spiritual evolution or your consciousness expanding like that. So I went there twice, and then I thought, okay, whatever it is, intuitively I felt what she is offering me is not it. She doesn't know it, but I also didn't know it. So I literally walked into the new yoga school in Amsterdam, where I now teach and where I did my education. And there was this beautiful teacher that looked me in the eye, and he looked at me and he said, "You're not okay. You should come and sit with me. Come, we're going to meditate." And I never meditated once before. So I just went with it because I felt this feels better than trying to go through like my history and finding whatever that the psychologist was pointing me to.
Yeah.
So I just sat down, and then that same person handed me the Bhagavad Gita. I don't know if you read it, but it's these Indian hymns, the myths about spiritual awakening. And it has a lot of chapters, and every chapter is kind of an explanation of what an awakening is. So you start like letting go of your ego body, and you start seeing it more clearly. And it's very beautifully written. And when I opened it and I read it, I was like, oh, this is it. It was so clear to me. This is what is happening to me. And I felt it was just this having also this knowledge that was really what for me really worked, is having this knowledge that this was normal and this was something that could happen. And there's more people going through it, and everyone has their own path. Mine was a bit chaotic because it was a lot at once. It was like, that's not for everyone, which is, it all has different reasons why people have a different path. So this was mine, and I really grew into that. So really deeper understanding and still integrating. Like sometimes there are still moments coming back, like in what kind of universe or what I felt at that moment. I was like, now I understand. It was this feeling. And now I feel like I'm at home with it, which is, it's a process. And I feel sometimes in our Western society, a lot of things that get labeled as mentally ill or having some kind of psychotic breakdown is also a sort of awakening, is an awakening, but we just don't know how to deal with it. So we label it as crazy, or we label it as a depression, we label it as something mental. But it's once you have the tools and you have a reference for this and you know the bigger picture of what is happening, then you can really start working with it, and then you can really see what it's bringing you, because it's again this like this burping up of old energies. And when we don't know how to deal with it, we label it as something bad, but it's something that you can move through once you have the correct guidance. And I was giving so much guidance in that. From the moment that happened, someone put a book in my hand, like they said, this is going on, like it was the whole world kind of shifted. And it just helped me, like, this is happening to you, just relax, you can move through it. And I always feel that's something that I want to give back to people. So that's also why I started doing yin yoga. Now I'm starting to do a new education, which is more like a consciousness guidance coach, to really help people move through this in their own unique way, because everyone has their own path in this. And I always feel where you move through yourself is something that you start sharing in the end, because you know that space, just like you said before, you know how these things feel, and you can really emphasize with that.
Yeah.
And that's enough. That's what you start sharing. And I feel, although it wasn't an easy period, I feel now very, very grateful that I moved through that. And that's like the whole world, the only thing that I now feel is that the whole world was really holding me in that moment. It was really, it's okay, like, we got you, just relax, it's okay. And that's a very beautiful thing to feel.
Wonderful. When you tell your story, it made me think of a book I once read of Mystic Girl in the City. Have you heard of her?
No.
She didn't know anything about spirituality. She didn't know anything about awakening. But it just happened all at once. But it was devastating on all levels. Really devastating. She had no clue. Nothing made sense anymore. And well, I can imagine in your case, you might have lost people even, or other things, because it didn't fit. Is that also what you noticed?
Yeah, your life changes a lot at that point, because when you're trying to figure out what's happening, but then what you also shared is that nothing really makes sense anymore. Like the things that you really like to do and that you kind of got like this energy from, they weren't there anymore. So going to the bar, I was 22, like going to the bar, going dancing, or doing all of these things that were normal as a 22-year-old, were like, what am I doing? Like it didn't feel fitting anymore. And there was a very confusing period, because then you also have all of these ideas about what it means to be 22 in like a normal human life, but then really feeling like your heart was being pulled to something else. So can be a bit of a bumpy road, but I think once you said it so beautifully in another conversation that we had, once you really start tuning in with your heart's mission, or your path, your soul path, then everything flows. And then there's really this like, oh, this magnificence in it, like, oh yeah, I want to go here. And then it feels so natural. So it's kind of meeting, like letting go of that, the thought of how your life would be at that point, and then really just allowing whatever wants to unfold. And that took me, to be honest, that kind of took me a little while to really let that go, because when I was 22, I always used to say, I'm such a lucky girl. Like I have these beautiful parents. I live in Amsterdam. Like I had everything. I used to really say that and be really, really happy with my life. And then all of a sudden, poof, it was like gone. So it was a bit of a process, and also a bit of a grieving to go through that and letting that go. So I think this is only something that I started realizing a few years back, that this is a path that that there's no other path for me than this path. But in the beginning, it can feel a bit, confused. Yeah, it can be a lot, or not, because there's also people that really like ease into this, and that already have a very open heart, like naturally, which is also very beautiful. So it can be both. It's not one. Yeah, it can be all at the same time.
Yes. Wow. Thank you for sharing this. I feel also when it comes to this, it's important for people to hear what can happen, but also that you can get through it, and that it's a big part of it is about not letting go in an active way, but maybe settling in and surrendering.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. Okay, so did I miss any really important questions? Yes, there is something that arose in me, and maybe we can shortly talk about it. Because what I also like is we're all multidimensional, but you're also multi-active in a way. Like you're doing yin yoga, you're an artist, you're doing this women's circles, and it's all intertwined. But you also have this dream when it comes to really living with Mother Nature. Isn't that true? Do you want to share? Yeah? Because I feel it's all interconnected, and this too, to me, is what the goddess represents. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really lovely to speak about it too, because every time that I speak about it, there's like new energy going to it, and then so it's really lovely to kind of keep that wheel going of feeling what that means.
Yeah,
to dream that. It's really. I could just, when I close my eyes, and it's something that I try to do in my own practice, is to not kind of see in the future, trying to go to the future with the dream that I have, but to really allow the dream already here in the body right now.
Yeah.
So feeling that you're already there, like feeling into what is it that living with this land gives me, like what is the feeling that I could feel right now that I would like to have, and then really allowing that emotion to kind of flush through the body. So for me, that's always connected to being very close to the earth and growing my own foods, living in this conscious way of being together. So having a community that you live with, that you share, that you are with in truth. So having this base as your presence as your center, and then just like we are talking now, to live with people who are on that same not path, but to have that same intention to live from the heart, right? To have that conscious intention to be there and to share from there. So what that actually looks like, it could be so many forms, but there is this plan that is still also prone to change, like everything. But there is this plan to, by the end of the year, to kind of go through maybe different countries in Europe to visit a few eco communities where they also share yoga practices, retreats, so where they have this holistic view of being together, and then seeing how people live there. Maybe to do some inspiration, talk with people, maybe live there for a while, and then to see what kind of calls me, like the way how do I want to live with the land, how do I want to take care of the land, how do I want to be in a community, because there are so many ways, of course, to be in a community. And where also, like, where would I want to live? Is it in Netherlands? Is it in a different country? Like, how does the nature look? And to really also start from this process of regeneration of the land. There's these beautiful projects that really take up a very old, or not old piece of land, but a dehydrated piece of land, or something that's like the ecosystem needs help to kind of regrow again. And to really be there and be with the land and to nurture it, and then to see it evolve again. And I would really love to be, to do that in whatever way or form that's going to happen. But so it's a really nice practice to come back to that feeling, because when I speak about it, I can almost feel like this tree kind of growing like in my spine, and then really, flourishing. So it's still so open what it's going to look like, but I'm very excited to see it emerging from somewhere. I
love that. I love it. We share the same vision too. The caretakers of Mother Earth. That's how it feels. Wonderful. Did I forget something?
I don't think so.
Where can people find you? Well, I will share the links, but can you mention your yoga school or whatever? What's your Instagram account?
You can share my Instagram account, and then there's a website where I try to put everything that I do in like a few lines, so that you can find me. There's also a contact that if there's questions or you'd like to reach me about whatever thing that I do, you can send me an email. The yoga schools in Amsterdam are still closed, sadly enough, due to the pandemic. So I don't teach online, because I feel yin yoga is something that I want to share personally, or through a video that will be shared, of course. But for now, I normally teach meditation and yin yoga at the new yoga school. It's in Amsterdam, but it's still closed. So once they start opening up, there will be a schedule on my webpage where you could see where I teach. And if you would ever like to be in contact, then you can find me there.
Yay! Wonderful. Wonderful. I loved this conversation. So thank you for all that you shared, and thank you for showing up the way you do.
You too.
Really being truthful to your inner path that is unfolding all the time. So really honoring you for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much also for allowing the opportunity for other people to share their path and to hear this and to create such a beautiful program. And for Janine, I'm just so happy to be in that conversation together with someone that you already know for so long. That feels like home. It's really lovely.
I really thought there would be a connection between you two. I'm happy to see that it is.
Yeah, very grateful for that.
Well, we'll meet in person for sure, because we live in the same country. And for now, I wish you aloha and namaste. Much love. Once she has awoken within, she will rise. You'll free yourself of inner cages, of structures linked to the patriarchal matrix, allowing the healthy feminine and masculine to merge, discovering that 1 + 1 is way more than just these two that converge. It is now more than ever that she rises in the hearts of many. Are you ready to let her have her flow, to live a life in magic and crystalline glow? The Goddess Rises is a 7-week online program created for those who feel the calling to protect her legacy, the guardians of love, the keepers of life's beauty. This trajectory includes online gatherings filled with crystalline goddess codes, activations, transmissions, affirmations, invocations, inspiration, and guided meditation, supporting the ascension of the wisdom that has always been waiting within to be freed, re-embodied, and then to be shared. Much love to you.
Mother Divine, whoa, Mother Divine, Mother Divine, whoa, Mother Divine.
Thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, sharing, and commenting. Come to the website heartsolutions.com and join the Field of Love membership area and the Goddess Rises online course to enjoy many light code activations and light language, all without commercials.